You're replaceable, the words hit me like a slap across the face. Functionally replaceable, Melissa. I stood frozen in the glass-walled conference room, staring at my boss, Derek Vaughan. 3 board members sat around the table, their faces blank. My presentation folder, 6 months of work on department restructuring, lay closed in front of Derek. He hadn't even opened it. We need visionaries here at Arcadia Solutions, Derek continued, leaning back in his chair with that smirk I'd seen 1,000 times. Not glorified coordinators. My hands started shaking. I clasped them behind my back so no one would see. Just last week, I'd saved the company $2.3 million with my client retention strategy. I knew because I'd built the entire system myself. I'd worked late nights, weekends, missed my sister's wedding to finish the proposal that saved our biggest accounts, and now Derek was presenting it as his own idea. Operational contributions are easily duplicated, he said, gesturing casually. What we really need is innovative thinking, strategic vision, the kind of leadership that transforms companies. He was talking about my work, my strategy, my innovation, but he was taking all the credit. The board members nodded along. One of them even smiled at Derek, impressed. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. My throat felt tight, my chest hurt. Do you have anything to add, Melissa? Derek asked, raising an eyebrow. I looked at him, really looked at him. At his perfectly pressed suit, his confident smile, his complete lack of shame, something cold clicked into place inside my brain. No, I said quietly. Nothing to add. Then we're done here. I walked out of that conference room with my head up and my presentation folder under my arm. My legs felt shaky. My vision was blurred, but my mind was crystal clear. Derek Vaughan had just made the biggest mistake of his career. He thought I was replaceable. He was about to find out just how wrong he was. The patterns emerged. I sat at my desk, staring at my computer screen without really seeing it. Around me, the operations department buzzed with normal activity. Phones rang, keyboards clicked. People walked past my cubicle discussing lunch plans. Everything seemed normal, but nothing felt normal anymore. I opened my project folder, the one I'd been maintaining for 2 years. Inside were dozens of files, reports I'd written, systems I'd designed, strategies I'd created. Every single one had Derek's name on it now. I scrolled through slowly, my stomach twisting tighter with each click. The client retention program. Derek's idea, according to the company newsletter, the efficiency protocol that cut processing time by 40%. Derek presented it at last year's conference, the quality control system that reduced errors by 65%. Derek got a bonus for that one, my work, my late nights. My ideas all stamped with his name. How had I been so blind? I thought I was being a team player. I'd thought my hard work would be recognized eventually. I'd believed that good work spoke for itself. I'd been so stupid. My colleague, Brenda from HR, appeared at my cubicle entrance. Her kind face showed concern. Hey Melissa, you okay? You seem quiet today. I looked up at her and forced a smile. Just focusing on documentation. You know how important records are. She nodded slowly. Yeah, records are very important. Something in her tone made me wonder if she knew. If she'd seen this pattern too, but I said nothing else. Just smiled until she walked away. Then I created a new folder on my computer. I titled it Operational Reality and saved it in 3 different places: my hard drive, a personal cloud account, and a USB drive I kept in my purse. If Derek wanted to play games with documentation, I'd show him how the game was really played. I wasn't quitting in anger. I was leaving strategically. But first I was going to collect evidence, every email, every report, every single piece of proof that showed whose work was really running this department. My hands stopped shaking. I got to work. The secret archive. For the next week I became a ghost in my own office. I arrived early, left late, and barely spoke to anyone. People probably thought I was depressed. Maybe I was, but mostly I was focused. Every morning I went through my email history, 2 years of messages. I sorted them carefully, looking for specific things, emails where I'd sent Derek my ideas and he'd later presented them as his own. Messages where I'd solved problems and he'd taken credit in meetings. Threads where clients praised my work directly before Derek redirected that praise to himself. I found dozens, then hundreds. I copied every single one into my Operational Reality folder, organized by date and project. Then I moved to Slack messages. Our company used it for quick communication and people were careless there. They said things in Slack they'd never put in email. I found messages where Derek dismissed my contributions in front of others. Conversations where he told team members that my role was supportive, not strategic. Comments where he'd literally said, anyone could do what Melissa does, it's not that complicated. I screenshotted everything. Next came client testimonials. I went through our customer service system and pulled every review that mentioned me by name. There were 47 of them. Melissa solved our problem in one day when everyone else took weeks. Only stay with Arcadia because of Melissa Chen's personal attention. Melissa is the only person there who actually understands our business. I saved them all. By Friday afternoon, my secret archive had grown massive. I had proof of everything, 2 years of work that Derek had stolen, repackaged and claimed as his own genius. I backed everything up again. Triple-checked my encryption. Made sure the files were truly secure. Brenda stopped by my desk again that afternoon. Melissa, I need to ask you something. She lowered her voice. Are you planning to leave? I looked at her carefully. Why do you ask? Because you're documenting everything. I've seen this before. People build cases before they go. I didn't answer right away. Finally, I said, if I was planning to leave, what would you say? Brenda glanced around, then leaned closer. I'd say make sure you have everything you need, and I'd say you're not the first person Derek's done this to. My eyes widened. What? I can't talk here, she whispered. But I've been in HR for 8 years. I've seen things. Just be careful and be thorough. She walked away before I could ask more questions, but her words confirmed what I already suspected. Derek was a pattern, not an accident, and I was going to break that pattern. The discovery on Monday morning, I started cross-referencing Derek's quarterly reports with actual department data. It was something I'd never thought to do before. Why would I? I'd trusted that my boss was honest about our numbers. That trust died within the first hour. Derek's reports to the executive team showed revenue numbers that didn't match our actual client billing. He'd been inflating our performance by almost 15%. I checked again, thinking I'd made a mistake. I hadn't. He was showing the executives fake numbers. My hands started shaking again, but this time from anger, not fear. I dug deeper. Derek's reports claimed client satisfaction rates of 94%. Our actual surveys showed 76%. He'd simply changed the numbers. He'd reported 0 critical incidents for the past year. I personally knew of 5 major client complaints that I'd fixed before they became disasters. Derek had hidden all of them. He'd claimed streamlined efficiency improvements that reduced costs by $400,000. Those improvements were my systems, and they'd actually saved $890,000. He'd undersold my work while still taking credit for it, but the worst part. He'd been reporting that the operations department had 8 team members. We only had 7. He'd been claiming salary and benefits for a fake employee for almost 6 months. That money was going somewhere, and I had a terrible feeling I knew where. I sat back in my chair, my heart pounding. This wasn't just credit stealing anymore, this was fraud. I was looking at potential criminal activity, not just bad management. My cursor hovered over the keyboard. I could report this right now. Go straight to HR, straight to the CEO, blow the whole thing open, but something stopped me. If I reported it now, Derek would find a way to spin it. He'd blame me. He'd say I was a disgruntled employee making false accusations. He'd destroy my credibility before anyone investigated properly. No, I needed to be smarter than that. I needed an escape plan first. A safety net. A way to make sure that when everything exploded, I'd land on my feet while Derek crashed and burned. I saved all the financial discrepancies in my secret archive. Then I opened LinkedIn and searched for a name I hadn't thought about in 2 years. Patricia Lowe, Director of Operations at Meridian Industries. The woman who'd offered me a job 2 years ago. A job I'd turned down because I'd been loyal to Arcadia. I typed a simple message. Hi Patricia, are you free for coffee this week? I'd love to catch up. Her response came within 20 minutes. Melissa. I never forgot what you did for us during the transition merger. Are you finally ready to talk? I have time Thursday at 10 a.m. Starbucks on 5th Street. I smiled for the first time in weeks. See you then, I typed back. The escape plan was beginning. The trap is set. I needed one more thing before I met with Patricia. I needed Derek to confirm in his own words exactly what he thought of me. On Tuesday morning, I scheduled a meeting with him. Discussion about career development, I wrote in the calendar invitation. He accepted without comment. Wednesday at 2 p.m, I walked into his office with a notebook and a calm expression. My phone was in my jacket pocket, recording everything. California's one-party consent law meant I didn't need his permission. Melissa, Derek said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. What can I do for you? Been thinking about what you said in the board meeting, I began carefully. About needing visionaries instead of coordinators. I want to understand your vision better so I can grow in my role. Derek's face lit up. He loved talking about himself. The next 45 minutes, he explained how he'd built the operations department from the ground up. How his strategic innovations had transformed Arcadia's efficiency. How his leadership philosophy centered on finding people who could support the real innovators. He talked about my client retention strategy as if he'd invented it. He described my efficiency protocols as his own insights. He even mentioned the $2.3 million savings as proof of his management genius. I nodded along, taking notes, asking questions. So where do people like me fit in? I asked. The coordinators, I mean. Derek leaned back in his chair, completely comfortable. Look, Melissa, you're good at what you do, but what you do isn't rare. It's execution, not innovation. The beauty of having good coordinators is they're everywhere. You lose one, you hire another. The real value is in people who can see the big picture, people like me. I wrote that down word for word. That makes sense, I said quietly. I'm glad you're being realistic about this, Derek continued. Some people get upset when they realize they're not leadership material, but you seem mature enough to understand your role. I understand perfectly, I said, and I did. I understood that Derek Vaughan was about to learn a very expensive lesson about who was actually running his department. Thank you for your time, I said, standing up. Anytime. That's what good managers do, help their team understand reality. I smiled and walked out. In my pocket, my phone had captured every word, every insult, every stolen credit, every dismissive comment. I had everything I needed. Tomorrow I'd meet with Patricia, and then the real plan would begin. The Network Awakens. The Starbucks on 5th Street was crowded Thursday morning, but Patricia had secured a corner table away from the noise. She stood when she saw me, and her smile was genuine. Melissa Chen, it's been too long. We hugged briefly, then sat down with our coffee. So, Patricia said, her sharp eyes studying me. What's going on? Your message didn't sound like a casual catch-up. I'd rehearsed this conversation in my head a dozen times. But now, sitting across from someone who actually valued my work, the words came easily. You offered me a position 2 years ago. Is that offer still open? Patricia's eyebrows rose. Things aren't working out at Arcadia, that's putting it mildly. I told her everything. Not emotionally, not dramatically, just facts. Derek's credit stealing, the financial irregularities I'd discovered, the replaceable comment that had started everything. Patricia listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I never forgot what you did during the transition merger, Melissa. When our systems were crashing and our clients were panicking, you volunteered your time to help us even though you worked for a different company. You fixed problems that our own people couldn't solve. That's not common. I just did what needed to be done. Exactly. That's why I'm going to make you an offer right now without even consulting my team, because I know they'll agree. She pulled out her phone and opened a note. Of strategic operations, full authority to build your own team, 40% salary increase from what you're making now, benefits that actually matter, and a boss who won't steal your work. My chest tightened. VP, that's above Derek's level. Because you're better than Derek, I've always known it, now you know it too. Stared at my coffee cup. This was real, this was happening. There's one more thing, Patricia said. Meridian is expanding aggressively. We're building an entire new operations division. If you know other talented people at Arcadia who are being undervalued, we're hiring. I trust your judgment on who's worth bringing over. My mind started racing. My team. Sarah, Marcus, Jennifer, Kai, Leticia and Tom. 6 people who worked just as hard as I did and got just as little credit. I'd need 6 weeks before I start, I said, to transition properly. Patricia smiled knowingly. To transition properly. Of course, take the time you need. We shook hands. I walked out of that Starbucks with a job that paid $120,000 a year, a title that meant something, and a plan that was finally taking shape. Derek thought I was replaceable. He was about to find out that I was the only thing holding his department together, and when I left, I wouldn't be leaving alone. The offer. I didn't tell anyone at Arcadia about my meeting with Patricia. I went back to the office, sat at my desk and worked like normal. Answered emails, handled client issues, fixed problems, but inside everything had changed. I had an escape route now. A real one. That weekend I sat down with the contract Patricia had sent over. It was everything she'd promised, VP of Strategic Operations at Meridian Industries. Salary of $120,000 per year, up from my current $85,000. Full health benefits, retirement matching, stock options, but the most important part was buried in the job description. Authority to recruit and build department team. I signed the contract on Sunday night, my start date. 6 weeks from now, 6 weeks to execute the rest of my plan. On Monday morning I started having quiet conversations with my team, not recruiting conversations. Not yet, just checking in. I found Sarah in the break room Monday morning. She was staring at her coffee like it had personally offended her. Rough morning, I asked. Sarah looked up. Derek just blamed me for the Morrison account delay. The delay that happened because he changed the timeline without telling anyone. That sounds frustrating. Frustrating, Melissa, I've been here 4 years, I'm good at my job, but Derek makes me feel like I'm constantly failing. I sat down next to her. Can I ask you something? Do you feel valued here? Sarah laughed bitterly. Valued? No. Used? Absolutely. What would your dream job look like? She looked at me strangely. Why are you asking? Just curious. We work so hard, I wonder if we ever think about what we actually want. Sarah was quiet for a moment, then she said, I'd want to work somewhere that respects my skills, where my boss doesn't take credit for my work, where I could actually grow instead of just surviving. I nodded slowly. That sounds reasonable. Yeah, well, reasonable doesn't exist in corporate America. I didn't argue with her, but I made a mental note. Sarah was ready. Over the next 2 weeks I had similar conversations with Marcus, Jennifer, Kai, Leticia and Tom. Marcus was looking for new jobs already. I'm done here, he told me. Derek passed me over for promotion 3 times. Meanwhile, he promotes his friends who don't do half the work I do. Jennifer was exhausted. I can't keep doing this. I'm the only one who knows how the quality system works and Derek treats me like I'm a secretary. Kai was angry. Derek takes credit for everything. I built the entire scheduling protocol and he presents it like it's his innovation. Leticia was defeated. I don't even know why I try anymore. Nothing I do matters. Tom was the quietest. But when I asked him if he felt valued, his answer was simple. I feel invisible. People, 6 talented, hardworking, undervalued people, all ready for something better, all loyal to me, not Derek. I didn't tell them about Meridian yet. It wasn't time, but I knew. When I left, they'd all be coming with me. Derek had built nothing. He'd just been coasting on our work, and soon everyone would know it. The Whisper campaign begins. By the 3rd week, I'd learned everything I needed to know. Sarah was actively applying to other companies. Marcus had 2 interviews lined up. Jennifer was so burned out she was considering leaving corporate work entirely. They were all looking for exits. They just didn't know there was one right in front of them. On Wednesday afternoon, I asked Sarah to grab coffee after work. Somewhere off-site, away from Arcadia, we sat in a small cafe 3 blocks away. Need to tell you something, I said carefully, but you can't share it with anyone yet. Sarah leaned forward. Okay, I'm leaving Arcadia. I already have another job lined up. Her eyes widened. Really? Where? Meridian Industries, VP of Strategic Operations. Melissa, that's amazing. That's a huge step up. You deserve it. Thank you, but here's the thing. Meridian is building an entire new operations division. They're hiring multiple positions, good positions. And I have direct input on who gets hired. Sarah went very still. Are you saying? I'm saying if you're interested, I can connect you with the hiring manager. No promises, but your skills match what they need. You serious right now? Completely serious, but you'd need to keep it quiet. I don't want Derek knowing anything until it's too late for him to interfere. Sarah's hands were shaking. Yes, absolutely. When can I interview? I'll set it up for next week. I had the same conversation with Marcus that Friday. Then Jennifer the following Monday. Then Kai, Leticia and Tom over the next few days. Every single one of them said yes immediately. I coordinated their interview schedules carefully, making sure Derek wouldn't notice patterns. Different days, different times, all during lunch breaks or after work. Patricia interviewed each of them personally. I'd coached them beforehand, not on what to say, but on how to present their actual skills without Derek's shadow hanging over them. One by one they nailed their interviews. Marcus, Operations Coordinator, $15,000 raise. Sarah, Senior Project Manager, $20,000 raise. Jennifer, Quality Systems Director, $25,000 raise. Kai, Logistics Manager, $18,000 raise. Leticia, Client Relations Specialist, $17,000 raise. Tom, Data Analytics Lead, $22,000 raise. Better titles, better pay, better respect. Patricia called me after Tom's interview. Melissa, where did Derek find these people? He didn't find them, they were already there, he just never noticed them. Loss is our gain. I'm sending all 6 offers today. When can they start? 2 weeks from my last day at Arcadia. Perfect, you're building something special here. I hung up and stared at my phone. All 6 offers would arrive in their personal emails tonight. By tomorrow morning, every single person on Derek's team would have a way out. And Derek wouldn't have a clue, not yet, but soon, very soon. The documentation multiplies. The next morning. I arrived at work to find Sarah already at her desk, trying to hide a huge smile. She caught my eye and gave me a tiny thumbs up. She'd accepted the offer. By noon, all 6 of them had accepted. We didn't celebrate openly, didn't say anything suspicious, just exchanged brief glances and small smiles, but we all knew the countdown had begun. That afternoon, Sarah stopped by my desk with a USB drive. Can we talk privately? We went to the parking garage where no one would overhear. Need to show you something, Sarah said, plugging the USB into her laptop. You mentioned keeping documentation. I've been doing the same thing. She opened a folder labeled Morrison Account Truth. Inside were emails, timeline records, and meeting notes proving that Derek had changed the project deadline without informing anyone, then blamed Sarah when the client got upset. Been keeping records for 8 months, Sarah said quietly. After the second time Derek blamed me for his mistakes, I started documenting everything. Sarah, this is huge. There's more. Marcus has documentation too, and Jennifer, and Kai. My heart started racing. Are you serious? We're not stupid, Melissa. We knew something was wrong. We just didn't know what to do about it. But if you're collecting evidence too, she looked at me meaningfully. We should combine our documentation, I said slowly. That's what I was thinking. Over the next week, my secret archive grew exponentially. Marcus had proof that Derek had altered project timelines to make himself look better for board presentations. Jennifer had emails showing Derek had ignored safety concerns she'd raised, then later claimed he'd proactively addressed potential issues. Kai had records of Derek taking credit for the scheduling system, a system Kai had built entirely on his own time. Leticia had documented how Derek had dismissed client complaints, then later presented himself as the hero who'd solved those same complaints after Leticia had already fixed everything. Tom had data. Raw numbers showing the actual performance of our department versus what Derek reported to executives. The discrepancies were massive. We created a shared encrypted folder. Combined, our evidence painted a clear picture. Derek Vaughan was a fraud who'd been coasting on his team's work for years while systematically undermining them. What are we going to do with all this? Marcus asked during one of our quiet meetings in the parking garage. Nothing yet, I said. First, we get out.